All right, so I had done an entire intro to this video when I was on the treadmill doing my cardio warm-up, and I had the lav mic hooked up, and I realized that I just forgot to hit record and confirm that it was recording on the lav mic itself. So no audio on that one. This is the new beginning of the video. We'll talk a bit during the cardio cool down, but all right, first thing is first. This is first exercise. It is pec deck. I like to set the seat a bit lower and grab a little bit higher, so it's more of a throat level, so it's getting a little more of that upper chest, pec minor. Obviously the pec major is also working, but it starts to put more emphasis on the upper part of the chest because you're clamping up high, similar to an old school suicide bench. Oh, whew. It's 20 reps. So I'm doing the full body 3 times a week, but what ended up happening just through kind of trial and error and seeing what feels right, it's a bit of an intuitive approach, is I find myself doing more compound movements and just this thing, like old school compound movements, a lot of barbell movements, or even if it's a machine, it's still a compound movement, like the machine overhead press. A lot of compound movements on Mondays and Fridays, so that I get the most bang for the buck, and I can go a bit heavier and get all the advantages of, like, for example, if I'm doing flat barbell bench press, obviously that's going to work my triceps and my front delts and my pecs. So that's a good, useful overall exercise, but it also means that I get to have fun, doing bench press. And of course, as you do something like bench press, where it's free weight moving through space, it's not being stabilized or balanced on a fixed path like a machine. You gotta work a little bit harder. Feels a little bit more fatiguing. Maybe you burn more calories, maybe you don't. I mean, because then it becomes the old argument of, are you, actually I gotta do this next day. 1 second, please. Oh shit. But yeah, there's this argument I've come up with in my head where I play devil's advocate and I say, I think we all agree that the squat is a great exercise. Just overall, it's a good exercise to do, and it obviously can build up your legs, your glutes, whatever. But you'll notice that many bodybuilders, especially in the modern era when there are so many machines available, typically, like, squat is not a cornerstone movement for them, unless they want to be included in the cool club on social media. They'll do a video of squat, but most pro bodybuilders you see don't put just old school barbell squat at like high priority on the list, because when you're doing squats, it's an amazing exercise, has a lot of benefits, but when it comes to pushing a muscle to failure, there are so many links in that chain. There are so many areas where you can fatigue and fail, and almost always it's something else that fatigues first. Either it's your lungs, you just can't breathe, so you rack it, or you end up losing balance, so your stability goes, or your lower back starts to fatigue, so you start to round over and your form breaks down. I mean, so many things can fatigue on the squat before you actually have to stop because you pushed your legs themselves to failure. Whereas if you do a machine, okay, yeah, you don't have the benefit of balancing it and stabilizing it and everything else like with free weights. However, it is, even with a compound movement, like if I'm doing leg press, it's a compound movement, so it's working multiple parts of my lower body at the same time, a bit of hamstrings, bit of quads, bit of glutes, all that stuff. However, I don't have to worry about my back fatiguing on leg press. I don't have to worry about my balance giving out. I don't have to worry about any of that. I can just focus on pushing the leg muscles themselves to failure. So there's an argument for both, and they both have their benefits. But if you're not an athlete, like if you're an athlete and you want sports performance, do squat. But if you're a bodybuilder or somebody who's just trying to bring up the leg muscles themselves, like develop those muscles themselves, maybe machine's better. Another set. Talked a little bit too long on that one. I typically like to keep my rest periods to about a minute, minute 15, minute 30 at the worst. Whew. Let me do one more set of this, a little bit heavier. See if I can fail closer to 10 or 12. So anyway, there are benefits to both. There are just legitimate real world benefits to doing free weight movements, but there's also legitimate benefits to doing machine movements. Of course, also other things come into play. You know, maybe you've had an injury, you gotta work around, or maybe you're doing both. Again, many people just do both. They'll do both bench press and some type of like pec deck or a machine movement. But what I find myself doing most often is Mondays and Fridays, I'm doing a lot of compound movements. I don't work my arms in isolation. I'll maybe do like literally 2 sets, just like one exercise for my triceps, one exercise for my biceps, one exercise for my shoulders, more specifically like side delts at the end of the workout. But I only do 2 sets of each and it's higher reps. I'm more so like burning them out to finish them off. But the day is a lot of, compound pressing movement, followed by a compound pulling movement, followed by a compound lower body movement, and end up with maybe a couple of just 2 sets of triceps, biceps, whatever. Or instead of doing 2 sets of curls, 2 sets of extensions, 2 sets of side laterals, I might instead do multiple sets of the dumbbell clean and press. I really like that because again, you get the biceps by pulling it up slowly, then you get the shoulders, side delts and front because you got to rotate your arm out and press, which also even that scapula stabilization, then you end up getting traps involved and everything else, and the triceps are there. All right, hold on, last set of this, and it's a different exercise. Oh. So, yeah, that's what I do Mondays and Fridays, and it's always different. So I'm not going to do the same movements on Friday that I did on Monday. If I do flat bench, for example, like flat barbell bench on Monday, I'm not also going to do it on Friday. I'm going to do something else. And then I noticed what I've been doing just here more recently, it's been feeling really good, is that since I'm doing more compound movements on Mondays and Fridays, and I know that I'm going to do a different movement on Friday than I did on Monday, so maybe I'll switch from a flat press to an incline press. Since I know I'm dividing it up like that and everything's getting its own attention, what I find myself doing lately is I do a lot more sets and reps for each exercise. So if I'm doing flat barbell bench, I do a ton of sets, like just mashing that volume. I keep doing bench until it just feels like I got nothing left in them, and even doing 60 kilos is hard. Then I'll move on to doing maybe like a wide grip lat pull down, and I'll just mash it, just keep doing wide grip lat pull down until I feel like I just can't do anymore, which I'm walking over to do that now. Though I did lat, oh, actually I take that back, sorry. I'm all confused because I'm trying to talk to you while I'm doing this. It'll make sense in a minute, I promise. But I'll choose like one good cornerstone exercise on Mondays and Fridays, different each day. And when I'm doing that cornerstone exercise, I just do a bunch of volume. So, yeah, I think you get the idea. I think you get the idea with Mondays and Fridays. A lot of compound movements, a lot more volume, and man, this bench is like right in the way. If I come out, is that going to hit you? No, it's not going to hit you. Well, then in that case, I'm going to lower this to here. There we go, right on the bench. So that's the approach, Mondays and Fridays. But Wednesdays, which today is, that's when I make up with isolation movements. So that's where I'll do some type of side lateral movement, whether it's the hip machine over there to do like machine side laterals, or I'm doing cable side laterals with dumbbells, whatever it is. I'm doing some type of side lateral movement. I'm going to do multiple different curling movements, multiple different tricep movements. I'm going to do a chest isolation movement like pec deck, which you just saw. I'm going to do more of an isolation movement for the upper back, which isolation might not be the right term because you're working multiple muscles, but we'll call it just more specifically a single joint movement like this, like reverse pec deck. Hold on, another set. Whew. I'm trying to clear my head, sorry. Isolation movements for the arms, the shoulders, the chest. Single joint, isolation for the upper back. And then I'll also do, I'll do the hyperextension machine, the back extension machine, which is like a deadlift type of movement, but it's machine, it's higher rep. And honestly, that's about it. It kind of depends on how I'm running with time. I should, if I had the machine in here, which I will, I'm in the process right now of building a combo, a leg extension, leg curl combo machine. And I've been so busy every weekend helping out at my wife's school that I just haven't had time to work on it. It's been sitting half done in my workshop for about a month now, maybe actually like 6 weeks now. Once that's done, I'm gonna add leg extensions and leg curls as a staple that I'm gonna do on Wednesdays. But right now, honestly, I kind of am a bit lazy with the making sure I get the leg stuff, because it's not unique to legs. It's not that I hate legs. I actually like to train lower body, but I like doing things like deadlift, heavy squat and things like that. So when it's isolation thing for Wednesdays, I don't just want to keep doing the same movements over and over again. So instead, maybe I'll decide that, I'll just do the back extension machine, and I'll maybe put a higher incline on the treadmill with the weight vest on, so it's a little more posterior chain, that kind of stuff. But honestly, I'm kind of missing the mark right now, but it doesn't matter because my legs don't have to look good on stage, and they function just fine from doing squat and deadlift and stuff. So when I'm not trying to explain myself to a camera, I'm actually really strict with my rest periods. Typically, once I see 45, 47 seconds, I'll start getting prepped so that right at the 1 minute marker, a few seconds before, a few seconds after, I'll actually be doing my next set. So I'm legitimately getting about 60 seconds on average between sets. If I'm going for a final set and it's a compound movement, like a heavy barbell movement, like I'm doing bench press or something, and it's my final set, and maybe it's heavier than usual, I might give myself a minute and a half to 2 minutes, but that's unbelievably rare. I don't really go heavy on that stuff anymore. It's the wrong terminology. I don't go heavy on the barbell movements right now because I'm dieting and everything else, and it's not the priority. I've spent 20 years training primarily for strength, and that always being my focus. This is the first time I've ever focused actually on just getting lean and improving my aesthetics. So I'm having to be very disciplined and very strict with myself to not let my ego get in the way and to not just start lifting heavy for the sake of lifting heavy. And here we are, I'm at 118, 119. I gotta do my next set. So. But I think what I was trying to get at is that because I'm typically not worrying about the weight that I'm using, I'm more worried about fatiguing the muscles. I don't have to worry about missing reps or not hitting a certain weight, because the exact number of reps or the weight doesn't matter as long as I've effectively activated the muscle and fatigued the muscle for the day. So it's much easier to just look at my watch and say, oh, it's coming up on a minute, better grab the weight, get started, But now I'm explaining everything to a camera while also trying to get my thoughts back in order after each set. So I'm noticing that I'm averaging about a minute and a half, which I'm honestly not happy about, but it's not the end of the world. It's not worth stressing over. All right, I just realized that was my last set because I don't go as heavy on that as I do on the pec deck. So I did flies, pec deck. I did the reverse of that, which is a reverse pec deck. Now I'm going to do side laterals, and I think I'm gonna do my first exercise for the lats, or the side delts, is gonna be this hip machine over here, which, I don't know, can you see it there? Does that work? That's probably fine. I'm gonna keep this right in the middle and start with 15 kilos. All right, 20 each side. And I gotta keep these rest periods even shorter because the whole time I was working that left side, the right side was technically resting. And I'm now saying I got low battery. I started out with like half battery and I recorded like 20 minutes of cardio with no audio by accident. So I've already run it down, but I got a spare battery over here. So if it suddenly jumps clips, it's not that I skipped anything, I was just changing the batteries. But, all right, it's been about 30 seconds, so it's time to hit that right side again. Oop, here we go. Ooh, that one's totally done. Completely fried. But yeah, basically a bunch of isolation stuff. Chest, upper back, some side laterals. I'll go to a different muscle group. After this, I'll do some either biceps or triceps, random, doesn't really matter. And then because I've already worked my chest, just mashed it into the ground as an example on Monday, and I'm gonna mash it into the ground again on Friday through compound movements. Then on Wednesday, I'm not going to mash it as much. I'm just going to do the pec deck for the chest, and then that's it. But the arms get minimal and sometimes no individualized attention, arms or shoulders, on Mondays and Fridays. They get a bit for sure. They're being worked secondarily, and sometimes I might end the exercise with a dedicated movement. Hold on, gotta do another set. Bump that weight up. All right, that's enough of that. That last set was about it. Like I said, Mondays and Fridays, I'll do maybe one exercise for my biceps, triceps, shoulders, either individually or all together in the same exercise, like with the dumbbell clean and press. I only do 2 sets, and it's high reps, like sets of 25 to 30 reps. So that's now on Wednesdays. I focus more of my time on stimulating the shoulders and arms. So I'm only going to do one exercise, pec deck for my chest. There's that isolation movement. It's good, especially with that upper grip. It's working more of that upper area as well. If I've got more time or I feel like I can handle it, I'm not so far into a diet, then I'll do the pec deck twice, with one set being that high grip, an ultra high grip, and the next set being a really low grip to stimulate different parts of the chest, which is what you just saw. It was a kind of right at throat level, so it's combining the two. But let me see, what's my time here? All right, gotta get this other one set up. I'm gonna go ahead and do one arm tricep extensions. Do that. This fan out of the way. What's my weight? Let's start with 35. probably repeated myself 3 times now. Sorry about that. But what I'm trying to say is Wednesdays, typically, especially right now, at this point in the diet, I'm doing 1 exercise for chest, 1 exercise for the upper back, and then the other stuff is gonna be primarily focused on shoulders and arms. So like 2 exercises for triceps, 2 exercises for biceps, 2 exercises for shoulders. The exercises I choose are totally random. If I did the same thing last Wednesday, I'm like, that felt so good last Wednesday, I'm gonna do it again. Or maybe I've just realized like, hey, you know, I haven't done this exercise in a while, so I'm gonna do this just because I haven't done it in a while. It really doesn't matter as long as I'm stimulating the muscle. All right, bump this up to 45. As this weight goes up, I also start getting more strict with my form. Like I would do a longer pause at the top since I'm not doing as many reps, so it has to start from a dead stop until it gets to a point where I can't do that anymore, and then I'm just trying to burn out the muscle. The tricep is absolutely on fire, which is the goal. Nothing worse than you're trying to work the triceps or the biceps or anything else and you're just not feeling it. Battery died. All right. Oops. There we go. All right, time for the next set. I'm actually gonna, instead of going to 55, I'm gonna keep this at 50. All right. Fuck. Whew. Trying to squeeze every last bit of effort out of that muscle that I can. Oh, I'm too close to the camera. That's it. All right. Now biceps. I'm doing this, it's essentially kind of a preacher curl is what it is. It's like a modified preacher curl. See, the idea is that my elbow is being supported on this, this handle right here, and it's kicked out a little bit in front of me, which even if this was gravity pulling straight down, that would put a slight kind of preacher angle on that bicep with more emphasis on the bottom stretch portion. But actually, because the cable is coming from behind me at this tower, that angle of the weight plus the slight forward pitch of my elbow makes it the perfect angle for a preacher curl, a traditional preacher curl. So I do these isolateral, 1 arm at a time. If I can get this thing, there we go. All right. I hate training arms. That pause at the bottom kills it. That makes all the difference in the world. I don't hate training arms, I just don't like training biceps. It always makes me feel, I don't know, goofy, a little bit weird. I've never cared about big biceps. I was always a movement pattern guy. I always liked lifting heavy weights. Who cares what you look like? So to me, I never cared about abs or big arms, as long as I could perform well. Fuck. But, you know, I'm trying something different now. This is like the first time in my life I've consistently been actually doing things like training my arms, for example. And I'm getting the hang of it. I dislike it less, but I noticed that I just enjoy training triceps more. And I'm doing press downs, or especially, I mean, I love like rope overhead extensions or dumbbell overhead extensions. Love those. Like training triceps is awesome. Even like mentally it feels cool, like fuck yeah, triceps. But when I'm training biceps, it just feels so goofy, mainly mentally. Like, I don't know, there's like this little voice in the back of my head, like, oh, you're one of those guys now, just doing your curls. I gotta, dude, shut up, just do my curls. All right, I'll go up to 40 now. Pause. Makes all the difference in the world. That's it. Move this stupid fan. There we go. Now see, my biceps already feel so done. I just want to stop training them there. Like, yeah, that's it. It's all the biceps I need for the day. And as much as I actually rationally think, like, yeah, that's about right. I know deep down, even though I don't realize it now, I know that deep down that's part of the whole, like, training arms is stupid, man. You don't gotta train biceps. Screw your curls. It's like, on my subconscious level, I'm just trying to get out of training biceps. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my one last set of this, and then go back and do another shoulder exercise, another tricep exercise, and another bicep exercise, and be done with it. But all right, let's do go up to, but it's 50 on triceps though. I'm gonna go to 45 on the biceps. They're not quite as strong. Come on. All right. Two more. Dunzo. All right, shoulders again. All right, and gotta clear my head. Whoa. Kind of want to do side laterals. And that was machine side lateral. It's got a very specific angle of approach and resistance curve. Whereas the way that I do cable side laterals, the way I've performed them for probably close to 20 years, as I found it feels the best, and it gives me a very unique type of activation that's very well balanced between side delts for sure, but it also really lights up my rear delts and my traps from the scapula movement. It's because I kind of come out in front of me, and then as I come up, I pull back into my body, and that kind of like reverse tennis swing type of movement feels amazing. I've always seen very good results from it, so I think that's what I'm gonna do now. Let's see. It's starting to get hot. I didn't turn on the AC or the fan today. Yeah, man, that feels great. It's multiple things. It's the range of motion. It's such a long range of motion. It requires so much stability from my hips and my abs and obliques and everything, just like to stabilize and rotate the body in that locked in position. And I can actually feel it lighting up, not just my side delts specifically. It's that rear tie-in from the side delt, where the side delt kind of meets the rear delt, like right where it anchors above the long head of the tricep. It burns like crazy right in that section there. And then at the lower back part of the trap right here, it's gotta do it like this. Too hot. It just feels great. I should probably at least turn on the fan or something. No, because I'll screw up my audio. Like I said, I messed up this whole audio thing earlier with that lav mic, and I actually don't have time to figure it out and fix it right now. So no fan, no AC, just me and you talking. I'm gonna move this over. That should be all right. I'm gonna say 35 pounds. 35 this time. All right. Wrong way. Yeah, it's feeling good. I hate it being head on with the camera when it's this close. It's an action cam, so it's got that ultra wide angle, which means inherently, because that super wide angle, my shoulders, which are out to the sides of my body, are further away from the lens and the sensor than the middle of my chest is, which ends up, that distortion makes it look like I'm bowed, like chest out, shoulders back. Like it makes me look so narrow and little and weird. Let me try it. If I crop in like that, if I do the 2x zoom, to see if that makes me look better. It's very important, for the sake of my ego, that I look amazing. I don't know what I'd do if people didn't think I looked amazing. Which, you know, that's a joke, but it's probably gonna trigger some funny comments. Now I'm gonna do 40. All right, 40. Oh, I feel pretty good. Now, another tricep movement, another bicep movement. I tell you, I already mentioned this, but I might just do the oh, I'm cropped in, I forgot. I might just do the that dumbbell clean and press again. I'm really enjoying the dumbbell clean and press lately. It's one of these movements that I spent years not doing. Because I was like, nah, it's fine, I don't need to. It's fine. And then as soon as I started doing it again, like it felt so good. And it feels just like awesome. It's just a good movement. Just go any higher? Yeah, there we go. It's just a good movement. And as I'm doing it more and more, and I've been consistent with it, I've noticed differences in my my shoulders, and the shoulder chest tie-in actually, and the trap flare, and I've just noticed what I feel I'm attributing to this consistent and regular dumbbell clean and press that I've been doing. Let's see here. All right. It's pretty simple. It's like a camera curl. It just keeps on going until it's overhead. Whew. It's a good first set. I'll bump up the weight a little bit. This, I typically don't brag. Like, I've never been much of a bragger. I've always been very worried. This is a real thing, like a heart to heart. It has nothing to do with the video, just like me opening up and just being real with you. I don't know why. I don't know if it was some sort of childhood trauma that I don't remember. I don't know. But for some reason, like my whole life, and it's still with me today, I've always, without even actively thinking about it, it's subconscious. Like, I hate the idea that people are misunderstanding me, that they're misinterpreting what I'm trying to say. And I think that's actually, I know that's why I end up ranting and rambling so much and repeating the same thing in slightly different ways. Because I'm so worried that if I just say it quick and short and assume that you'll understand, that I'll be misunderstood. Somebody will, oh, what you're saying is this. I'm like, no. And it's this whole thing. Hold on, I got another set to do. God damn. But what's attached to that is I never ever want to brag or even just own up to something. Because again, like if I say, for example, randomly, my PR bench press I've ever done was 205 kilograms, which is like 451 pounds for a paused double. There's like an old video of that somewhere on this channel. But I never mention that. Even when talking to my friends who lift, powerlifting buddies, discussing this stuff, like in person, on Instagram, whatever, like, even if it's irrelevant for me to mention it, I typically won't, because even though I'm making a statement of fact or it might be relevant, I'm worried it'll be misunderstood as me just like the humble brag, you know? It's like, no, that's not what I'm doing. So it's the same with like quoting my numbers correctly. I remember one time I was squatting, I was doing a squat workout with my old training buddy, Rocky, and I did 585 for a triple. And he was like, yeah, there you go, it's a 600-pound squat. And I said, well, it's 585. And he said, and he was dead serious, he's like, bro, it's 600. I was like, well, it's not though, it's 585. And he said, you know what, let me tell you something, bro, you're too honest. Anybody else, we look at that, it's 6 plates, it's 585, we just call it a 600 squat. Like, okay, but I don't. Because when I call it a 600 squat, that's when everybody on the planet is gonna point out that it's not 600, it's 585, and I look like a douchebag, and I'm never gonna live that shit down. Whether I'm being called a liar, or I'm being called this, or anything else, like, no. I'd rather just play it safe and call it 585. Fuck. That's it. That's no more. But it's the same with these movements and stuff. I think one of the reasons why I've never personally had a lot of respect for people who do things like sumo deadlift. Like if you do sumo as an accessory exercise, it's just one of many exercises you do because you like taking advantage of the hip activation. Nothing wrong with that. But like people who, their whole persona, their whole field of interest, or their competitive venue is they want to be strong. They're the strongest. They want to win a powerlifting competition. And they only do sumo. I mean, switching to sumo doesn't make gravity stop existing. Not anti-gravity. It's not going to lift itself. You still have to move it. Fair enough. But it doesn't change the fact that the reason why you're doing sumo is because it's easier. And people get real up in their feelings about that. They get real butthurt. Well, fuck you, it ain't easy. I'm saying it's easy. It's easier. It's why you do it. Because it's a drastically shorter range of motion. The way that you can make any weight feel lighter is if you move it less distance. Doesn't matter what muscle you're working, it doesn't matter what exercise it is. A quarter squat is always easier than a full, like, ass to grass squat. If you're just doing like little bench press lockouts, like a 3-inch range of motion bench press, you're gonna be able to handle a lot more weight for a lot more reps than if you did a full range of motion bench press. Deadlift's no different. When you've got your feet shoulder width apart or thereabouts, a little wider, a little narrower, or whatever, hands outside your legs, and you have to bend all the way down to the floor, grab that weight and stand all the way up. That's a drastically long range of motion. It is inherently due to, fucking physics and mechanics. It requires more effort and it's more difficult than spreading your legs and narrowing your hands to the point that, especially once you're using a deadlift bar as well, that you only have to move the weight 3 inches to lock it out. Like, to me, that's just, it's like, it's dishonest. And I don't mean in a real way. People recognize it, it's a record, whatever. But I mean on a moral, like, personal level, I just feel like, oh, that's kind of dishonest. I'm done with this workout, by the way. I gotta do cardio. For me, my personality is I've always been a fan of doing something that's harder, specifically because it's hard. Like, that's why I do it. So, anybody who's ever been either trained with me or been in the gym with me when I was training and just saw me doing my thing, guarantee they saw when I do deadlift. I very rarely do just full, regular, normal deadlift in a workout. Most of the time, I'm doing a variation. It's not meant to be easier, it's meant to be harder. And it's not one of those wink, wink, it's totally harder, but it's actually easier, which is why I'm doing it. I would very frequently do deficit deadlift, and I hate it when people say they're doing deficit deadlift while standing on a mat that's a 1/4 inch thick, but they're also barefoot. It's like, dude, you would have been at more of a deficit if you just wore your shoes. Different story, different day, pet peeve, whatnot. But when I did deficit deadlift, I would stack up weight plates and I'd stand on top of them. I'd do that or use the plyo boxes and stuff, but I would get my feet several inches off the ground. Maybe it's 8 inches off the ground, 7.5, something like that. But it was to the point that the barbell itself, the bottom of the barbell, would actually touch the top of my foot. It would touch it. I'd have to shove and squeeze my foot between the barbell and the plates I was standing on. So like, I could not possibly be at any more of a deficit without my foot going through the bar. And then, if that wasn't hard enough, I would also use a wider than usual grip. So it was kind of, very rarely I'd do a full snatch grip, because then flexibility became an issue while standing on boxes that high. But a lot of the time I'd do at least a moderate snatch grip to get my chest even lower. And I'd also be using a stiff bar or an axle bar, and I'm doing double overhand grip, and I'm doing it beltless. And I know that sounds like I'm just saying a bunch of untrue shit to sound cool, But if you've been in the gym with me, which many people on my Instagram who watch my videos have worked out with me, or at least been in the same gym, like, you know it's true, you've seen me do it. It sounds like a ridiculous number of things to do just to make it harder, but yeah, that's kind of the whole point. It is ridiculous, and I'm trying to make it harder. Like, that's the whole idea. I want to make it as hard as possible for the sole purpose of just making it as hard as possible. For me, the idea was always like, this is more badass, rather than being like, as far as looking cool to people in the gym, to me it's like, well, who's gonna earn more admiration or respect from the very few people in the gym looking over at you who actually give a fuck? Because most people don't give a fuck. Who's gonna earn more respect? The guy who's walking around wearing $500 worth of lifting equipment, walking around in his special shoes, knee sleeves, compression shorts, with his $300, fucking name brand 13 millimeter thick lever belt on, and an erector shirt that also has bar grip on the back so the bar doesn't slide if they happen to be doing bench or squat. And they've also got their wrist wraps and their elbow sleeves, and they do their chalk, and then everything they do is about minimizing the range of motion. And they do bench, the arch is as tall as possible, the grips as wide as possible, so they only have to move it 5 inches. When they do deadlift, it's the widest sumo they can possibly get without breaking their toes. Like, when you see that guy, do you respect him? Is that like, oh wow, that guy's amazing, he's so strong, he's so badass? Or do you respect the guy who's just like farm strong? It doesn't matter what bar he uses, doesn't matter what plates, doesn't matter if it's unevenly loaded. He walks in in just street clothes. Like some of these guys, you see them, they get off the construction site and they go straight to the gym. They're wearing work boots, blue jeans, and a hoodie, and they're out lifting everybody in the gym. No special form, no arch back, no ultra wide grip, no wrist straps, none of that stuff. They're just laying down on the bench, regular flat back, narrow grip, and just hammering this weight up. Or on squat, it's just high bar, shoulder width stance, sitting on their ankles, standing up. Same with deadlift, just bending over, grabbing the bar, standing up with a monstrous amount of weight. Like, those are the guys who get respect. Specifically because there's nothing fake about it. They're just brutally strong. So, to me, as far as how it looks, that was always more cool. Which I think Clarence Kennedy is the same way. He said the main reason why he benches with a narrow grip and a flat back and squats with a high bar is he actually said specifically because it looks better. Like, aesthetically, it looks better to do a high bar Olympic style squat than a powerlifting style squat. It's more impressive to look at, which I agree. But also for me, there was the very real aspect of, like, for many years, I trained like outside. I literally trained outside. I had a carport next to my house. I had some free weights set up in the carport, so there were no walls or anything. It was just the cover. And I'd go out there year round. Didn't matter if it was raining, didn't matter if it was 100 degrees outside, didn't matter if it was snowing, didn't matter what the temperature was, didn't matter if it was hot, cold, wet, dry, didn't matter. I had this old shitty barbell with almost no knurling. I had these cheap, like Dick's Sporting Good weights that weren't accurate. Everything was just crap. It didn't matter. I just made it work. I just lifted with that stuff. And for me, I appreciated that because I knew, because I was a competitive powerlifter at the time, I knew that when I do go to the gym, or I'm sorry, when I do go to the meet and I compete, and suddenly I have this nice, like, competition quality calibrated barbell, and I have calibrated plates, and I have this nice rock solid bench with grippy upholstery and a wide set for my shoulders, and like, I just knew I'm not going to miss these lifts unless something catastrophic happens. Like, all the weights are going to feel easier. 400 pounds, whether it's squat, bench, or deadlift, is never going to feel better than it does at the meet because I'm used to doing it under much worse conditions. And for me, when I would do all that crazy stuff with my deadlift accessories, it was like, well, yeah, because if I'm actually checking my ego at the door and not trying to think about how I can put as much weight on the bar as possible to impress people who don't care, if I instead make the exercise as mechanically disadvantageous as possible, and make it as difficult as possible, and I train like that, well then later when I do a regular, just normal deadlift, it's gonna feel that much easier. That was always my mentality. And it's the same with these weights and me lifting now. Like, my instinct is I wanna lift heavy, but for a variety of reasons, I gotta remind myself, like, that's not really the goal. You know, right now the goal is more of the really firing the muscles I'm trying to fire. If I'm doing a tricep exercise, I want to focus on the triceps. I want to feel it in the triceps. I want to burn out the triceps. And when I'm doing these movements like that dumbbell clean and press, I want to make sure that my form is good. I want to make sure that I'm going through the full range of motion. I want to make sure that I'm feeling every single muscle do its part and take over and handing off that baton and everything else. So I'm not going very heavy. Like, the heaviest I went on that over there was, I think, the 30 or 40 pounds. I gotta check which pin I put it in. I think it's like 30-pound dumbbells. But I focus on like that nice controlled movement, full range of motion, up and down, constant tension, really, no breaks, unless I'm burning out. I'm just letting everything stretch at the bottom. But same with those tricep extensions or the bicep curls. The idea is get it to go all the way up so my tricep can't go up anymore. It's as stretched as it can possibly be, and then just let it sit there. Get rid of that elastic rebound. Totally from a dead stop. Then restart the movement, right? And go back up. I'm not gonna stop at the bottom and lock out and rest for a minute. No. Almost to the bottom, almost locked out, and I reverse it and come back up and let it stretch and sit, and then blast it again. Same with the biceps, let it stretch, and then blast it up. The idea is to make it more difficult because the muscles have to work harder. So you're gonna see better results, it's gonna be more beneficial. And I'm all about maximizing the time I spend in the gym. I wanna make it as proficient as possible. I wanna make it as effective as possible. But anyway, it's been a long enough workout. I'm gonna finish this cardio, get downstairs, eat my dinner, shower, go to bed, all that stuff. But if you came along with me for it and you were hanging around with me through this whole video, maybe you watched it in the background while you're in the gym. Cool, man. Guys, gals, whoever, it's good seeing you. I didn't see you, but this feels like a natural thing to say. But thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye.